You've been following all the advice. The vision boards are set, the affirmations repeated, the meditations practiced, the high vibe phrases spoken with conviction. Every morning begins with intention. Every evening ends with hope. Yet, when the days blur together, the outside world looks strikingly unchanged. The calendar flips, but the feelings remain. New intentions arrive, yet the outcomes seem to echo the past. The same relationships appear in different disguises. Money flows in, only to reset back to zero. And beneath all the effort, a quiet frustration builds. Why does reality look like a loop that refuses to break? The truth is not what most have been told, okay? The challenge isn't lack of effort, worth, or intelligence. The root of the loop is frequency. The quantum field doesn't calculate how hard someone tries, how long they meditate, or how many affirmations they repeat. It responds only to one thing: the signal being broadcast consistently, often unconsciously, beneath every action, thought, and ritual. It's the vibration carried in silence when no one is watching, when there is no performance. That baseline frequency is the real script being sent into the field, and the field mirrors it back with flawless accuracy. This is why so many remain stuck, even while doing everything right. Vision boards are updated, techniques are mastered, yet the experiences keep recycling. It's not punishment, it's coherence. The field is neutral, like a mirror reflecting light. It does not judge desires as noble or selfish, worthy or unworthy. It only amplifies the energy most consistently held. That's why the outer behaviors can change. But if the nervous system is still wired to scarcity, the signal heard by the field is scarcity. If the body is still patterned in fear, the broadcast is fear, and the reflection will always match. Here lies the overlooked law of vibrational repetition. Whatever the subconscious considers safe, it will recreate endlessly, even if that safety feels like pain, rejection, or struggle. Familiarity is the command. The field hears, this is where you feel at home. This is what you expect, and faithfully mirrors it back. This is why new routines often yield old results. A mantra for abundance may be spoken, but if doubt lingers in the background, the frequency of doubt is what resonates. A meditation may aim for peace, but if tension rules the body, the broadcast is still tension. This isn't failure, it's feedback. The field is not resisting desires, it's reflecting identity. And identity isn't built on words, it's built on vibration. It's the subtle expectation carried when plans collapse. It's the emotional tone felt in quiet hours when no affirmation is repeated. It's the energy chosen in moments of disappointment and celebration alike. That is what the field listens to. And that is why the cycle repeats. Out, but there is a way through. Once the loop is seen for what it is, not a curse, not sabotage, not proof of inadequacy, but a mirror, it can be interrupted. Awareness is the disruptor. The moment an old frequency is named, felt, and observed without collapsing into it, the loop begins to dissolve. And in that dissolution, the doorway to quantum shifting appears. 'Cause the shift doesn't come from piling on more techniques. It comes from stepping out of the frequency that has been unconsciously rehearsed. The real work is not about forcing a reality into existence, but about embodying a new frequency so that the version of reality aligned with it collapses naturally around you. That is the essence of true energetic shift. And in this section, the deeper mechanics of this process begin to unfold. What keeps repeating as vibrational echoes? Why the subconscious resists change even when the soul craves it? And the hidden element that allows transformation to stabilize will now be revealed. The path forward is not effort, but resonance. This is not just theory. It is transformation made tangible, long-lasting, vibrationally coherent transformation. Take a breath. Allow the old frequency to loosen its grip. Let the outdated loops begin to dissolve under the light of awareness. Prepare, because the patterns that once dictated life without consent, are about to be exposed. And with that exposure comes the power to break them. What keeps repeating is not destiny, is frequency. Beneath the surface, the subconscious mind, the nervous system, and the quantum field collaborate in a precise cycle that recreates the same experiences, even when conscious desire longs for something new. The subconscious is not designed to deliver happiness. Its design is protection. Protection, however, is not fulfillment. Protection is familiarity. It preserves the catalog of past experiences, beliefs, traumas, and emotional responses reinforced across years or even lifetimes. These records form neural pathways, automatic grooves of thought, feeling, and reaction that replay without effort. The nervous system then memorizes these grooves as default programs. This is why reactions to stress, patterns in love, financial responses, or the way rejection is processed seem automatic. Each response forms part of a vibrational blueprint constantly broadcast by the body. Even when the conscious mind focuses elsewhere, and the quantum field responds to this blueprint, not to spoken words or surface-level intentions, but to the dominant frequency emitted consistently. The majority of that signal is unconscious, flowing from the body's reflexes, the emotional patterns repeated daily, the hidden expectations carried in silence. Change feels difficult because attempts to create something new often come from the same subconscious programs that built the present reality. It's just like trying to rewrite a book while the original script is still running in the background, auto-correcting everything back to the old plot. Quantum physics frames reality as a field of infinite probabilities. Every version exists simultaneously until observation and intention collapse one into form. But without coherent alignment across mind, body, emotion, and vibration, the signal remains scattered. A scattered signal cannot override a deeply rooted frequency. Here lies the trap. Conscious effort tries to force change while the subconscious broadcasts the old signal at full volume. Neuroscience shows that 95% of thought and behavior patterns are unconscious, meaning only 5% of energy works toward the new, while 95% reinforces the old. This explains why positive thinking alone rarely shifts reality in lasting ways. The subconscious continues to replay the frequency of scarcity, rejection, or fear, and the body emits it as a powerful magnetic field, pulling in matching experiences. In quantum terms, conscious attention may be fixed on abundance or love, but vibration remains entangled with the old identity. And the field mirrors what is broadcast, not what is wished for. The field responds to what is, not what is hoped for. Identity is shaped by patterns yet to be interrupted. Consider the last attempt at major change in career, health, or relationships. At first, motivation soared, but resistance soon appeared. Self-doubt returned. Fear resurfaced. Procrastination and delay crept in. These were not failures. They were protective responses from the subconscious, pulling back into what was known. The body reveals this most clearly. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, the body itself functions as the subconscious mind. It stores emotional memory, stress responses, and identity habits. Each attempt to embody a new state of being meets resistance, not because the body wishes harm, but because it has been conditioned to maintain what it already knows as safe. Not by forcing a new reality into existence, but by embodying a new frequency. Reality itself begins to reshape around you with ease. That is exactly what this journey is about. It is about discovering how the subconscious sends out vibrational echoes that keep looping the same experiences. Why the mind clings to old patterns, even when the soul is ready to expand, and the missing key that turns desire into tangible transformation. This is not theory. This is real, lasting, vibrational change. Let's breathe deeply now and allow the old frequencies to loosen their grip. Let the weight of the patterns you've outgrown dissolve in the space of your awareness, because in a moment You will see clearly how your energy has been looping, and more importantly, how to break free from it. What keeps repeating in your life is not fate. It is frequency. And beneath the surface, your subconscious, your nervous system, and the quantum field collaborate perfectly to recreate what is familiar. The subconscious is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you safe. But safety doesn't mean joy, expansion, or abundance. Safety simply means familiar. Every experience, every belief, every trauma has left a trace in your subconscious. And over time, those traces have wired together into neural pathways. These grooves of thought, emotion, and behavior have become automatic, effortless, unconscious. Your nervous system memorizes them as default settings, influencing how you respond to stress, how you give and receive love, how you perceive opportunities, and how you interpret rejection. All of these patterns combine into a vibrational blueprint that your body emits constantly, even when your conscious mind is focused on something completely different. And here is the crucial point. The quantum field responds not to your intentions, not to your words, not to your wishes, but to the frequency you broadcast most consistently. Your dominant vibrational signature is what the field mirrors back to you. The vast majority of this signature is unconscious. It's encoded in your automatic reactions, in your habitual emotions, in the way you instinctively think about yourself and your life. This is why creating change feels so difficult, because most attempts to manifest are made from the same subconscious programs that created the very reality you read trying to escape. It is like trying to write a brand new story while an old script is running in the background, autocorrecting everything back to what it used to be. Quantum physics shows us that reality exists as an infinite field of possibilities. Each potential version of your life hovers as a probability wave, waiting to collapse into form. But probabilities only collapse when there is intention, observation, and most importantly, coherence. Coherence is what happens when your mind, your heart, your body, and your energy align. Without it, your signal is scattered, weak, and inconsistent. And a scattered signal can never override a deep, long-standing frequency. This is why so many people feel stuck. They're trying to force change with the conscious mind, while the subconscious is still broadcasting the old signal with a power that overwhelms everything else. Neuroscience tells us that up to 95% of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are unconscious habits. That means only 5% of your energy is actively participating in creating something new, while 95% is reinforcing the reality you already know. And so, even with the best intentions, people find themselves attracting the same kinds of relationships, the same financial struggles, the same health challenges, the same emotional triggers. It's not because they lacked discipline or worth, but because their subconscious and their body are still broadcasting the frequency of those old experiences. The field does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you are. And what you are is defined by the patterns you have not yet interrupted. Think of the last time you tried to make a big change in your life. At first, you felt inspired, full of energy, ready to leap into the new. But resistance crept in. Self-doubt surfaced. Old fears rose up. Suddenly, you procrastinated, sabotaged, delayed. That was not failure. That was your subconscious pulling you back into the familiar, because it equates familiar with safe. The body plays a pivotal role here. The body is the subconscious mind. It remembers the feelings, the stress responses, the emotional habits that shape your identity. And every time you try to step into a new state of being, your body resists not to harm you, but because it has been conditioned to keep you inside the boundaries of what it knows. You begin to feel stretched between two versions of yourself. One part of you is reaching for expansion, craving new possibilities, calling in the reality you've been envisioning. The other part clings tightly to the familiar, gripping the safety of old patterns that have defined your identity until now. This inner tug-of-war is not a mistake. It is the hallmark of the quantum shift process. It feels uncomfortable, yes, but that very discomfort is proof that you are standing on the threshold of transformation. At this crossroads, two paths emerge: retreat, where you default back into the old vibrational baseline and repeat the same experiences once again, or persistence, leaning into the unease and recognizing it as the signal that you are about to step into something profoundly new. The choice you make here determines whether the loop continues or whether you break free. There is a physiological marker that often reveals this exact moment. Your body begins to resist. You might feel restless, fatigued, tense, anxious, or even notice mild symptoms as if your system is protesting. This is not sabotage. It's your nervous system processing the dissonance between the old identity dissolving and the new frequency taking root. Your body has been conditioned to stress, limitation, and the emotional habits of your past reality. Moving beyond that conditioning is like undergoing a vibrational detox. It can feel unsettling, but it is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that the old loop is breaking apart. The discomfort arises because the system is trying to protect the old paradigm, not because you are doing something wrong. If you misinterpret it as failure, you will retreat. But if you recognize it as part of the process, you will endure, and you will shift. Let's ground this in an example. Imagine you are manifesting a new relationship, a new level of abundance, or a fresh career path. You set intentions, you visualize, you align your actions, and then, suddenly, old fears resurface. What if I'm not enough? What if I get hurt again? What if it doesn't work? That fear triggers familiar patterns. You pull back, you procrastinate, you lower your standards, you settle. In that moment, the loop reactivates. But what if instead of collapsing into the fear, you paused? What if you chose to breathe, to regulate your nervous system, to stay present with the discomfort instead of running from it? That is the true moment of quantum shift. Not when you force a new reality, but when you stop reacting to the old one. Another powerful sign that you are nearing a shift is synchronicity. Numbers, repeating dreams with symbolic meaning, unexpected opportunities, or thoughts manifesting almost instantly. These are not coincidences. They are signals that your vibrational field is becoming more coherent, more aligned with the reality you are calling in. Yet even these signs are not guarantees. They are invitations. The real question is, how will you respond when they appear? Will you trust the unfolding, even when it feels unfamiliar? Or will you retreat to the safety of your old self? The quantum shift requires you to linger in the liminal space long enough for the new frequency to stabilize. This is the hardest part because it demands faith without evidence, action without certainty, presence without guarantees. But here is the paradox. It is in this very space of uncertainty that the field reorganizes itself. The old reality dissolves, not because you overpowered it, but because you stop feeding it with attention, fear, and habitual reactions. In its place, the new reality crystallizes around your coherence. So, if your body is resisting, if your patterns are resurfacing, if synchronicities are multiplying, and you feel stretched between who you were and who you are becoming, remember this: you are not failing. You are shifting. Now the question becomes, how do you move through this transition with grace and precision? How do you stop reacting to the old frequency and begin embodying the new one so fully that the field has no choice but to reflect it back? The answer is not to push harder, not to force, not to try to control every step. In the quantum model, creation does not emerge through effort. It emerges through frequency. And frequency is not something you do. It is something you are. To shift realities, you don't need to construct a new future brick by brick. That future already exists in the field. It's not a dream, not a fantasy. It's not a possibility floating somewhere out of reach. It is a version of you vibrating at a specific frequency that you have not yet stabilized into. The task, then, is not creation, but calibration. The question is no longer, how do I build the future, but how do I tune into it? And the first step always begins with the body, because your body is not just a vessel you live in. It is the broadcasting tower of your energy. When the nervous system is dysregulated, when the body is still conditioned to respond with fear, tension, self-protection, or urgency, it will override any new thought you attempt to introduce. So explains why someone can know all the right practices, say the right affirmations, even visualize with focus, and still feel stuck. The real shift begins not in the mind, but in the body, when the nervous system itself becomes coherent with the reality being created. This means teaching the body how to feel safe in emotions that may have once felt unfamiliar. Peace, expansion, joy, abundance, these are natural states. But if the body has spent years normalizing anxiety, contraction, scarcity, and doubt, it must be gently re-educated. The practice is not to force a thought, but to embody a feeling. Close your eyes and bring to awareness the version of yourself who already lives in the reality you desire. Not just what they have, but how they feel. Just the emotional tone of that version, calm, confident, grateful, radiant, anchored. Then allow that emotional tone to enter your body, not for performance, not as a trick, but as training for your nervous system to stabilize in that frequency. This is not about pretending. It is about rehearsing a new way of being until the body begins to recognize it as safe. Even 5 seconds of genuine coherence is more powerful than hours of mental struggle. 5 seconds of deeply felt alignment can interrupt years of repetitive patterns. The next step is observation without collapse. Old patterns will surface, but instead of panicking or suppressing them, watch them with neutrality. When a fear arises, pause and breathe. Ask, does this come from the version of me I am leaving behind, or from the one I am stepping into? This act of witnessing without collapsing into reaction creates space. It is in that space where new frequencies emerge, where power lives. A third key is to disengage from urgency. The quantum field is timeless. Desperation, rushing, and frantic energy all signal lack. Even if the mind is visualizing abundance, urgency transmits disconnection. Slow down. There's no need to chase what already exists in the field. The only task is to become a clear match for it. Reality doesn't shift by pushing harder. It shifts when the frequency no longer supports the old. When the energetic structure of the current reality dissolves, because it is no longer held together by outdated beliefs, emotions, and self-concept. A powerful practice is to stop asking for proof. The need for constant evidence signals doubt. Looking for signs too soon interrupts coherence. Instead, treat the absence of proof as confirmation that a deeper embodiment is taking root. Smile in the moments when it seems like nothing is happening, because that is often when the most profound shift is beginning. Manifestation is less about adding and more about removing. Removing interference, removing noise, releasing tension, letting go of the urgency, and the expectations that bind you to an outdated version of yourself. The new you is not something that must be built from scratch. It already exists. The shift is about ceasing to reinforce the identity that no longer fits. This transformation is not linear. It will not always feel like steady progress. Sometimes it feels like stillness, sometimes contraction. Yet, if you remain coherent, if you return again and again to the signal of your future self, even quietly, even subtly, the quantum field begins to respond, and it will do so in ways that no effort, no force, no desperate grasping could have ever produced. The quantum field does not respond to personal timelines. It responds to alignment. And alignment is not just a mindset, it is a vibrational home. If this message resonates, if there is a sense of awakening in the body, there is recognition that this is the space between who you were and who you are becoming. It is time to claim it, to anchor the new frequency, not only with thought, but with resonance. Now, everything begins to weave together. The loop has been revealed, how the subconscious maintains patterns that keep reality on repeat. how the body holds onto emotional signatures as if they were protection, and how the field faithfully mirrors the broadcast signal no matter what the conscious mind desires. But here's the truth. The threshold is not in the future. It is here, in this breath, in this choice to embody a new frequency, to step beyond reaction and repetition, to walk as the creator rather than the unconscious participant. Quantum shift is rarely a single dramatic explosion. More often, it is subtle and steady. It happens through micro decisions, tiny moments when presence is chosen over programming, when softness replaces tension, when trust dissolves panic. Each time this choice is made, the field recalibrates. Each time coherence wins over chaos, a new reality begins to stabilize. This is the secret that so many miss. The future is not something to chase. It is something to tune into, a frequency stabilized so consistently and so confidently that the field reorganizes around it. This is what it means to live as a quantum self. To remember that there is no separation from the version of you who already inhabits the desired reality. That version is entangled with you now. The only question is, which signal will be reinforced loops rehearsed through doubt and fear, or the new frequency anchored in presence, trust, and coherence? The shift is not about perfection. The field does not demand flawless practice. It responds to consistency, to the willingness to return again and again to the frequency of the future self, even when the outer world has not yet caught up. Especially then. Abundance, when? That is the true test. Holding abundance when circumstances still echo scarcity. Staying aligned with love when relationships feel unsettled. Trusting expansion when external reality still shows the loop. Most give up here. The mistake, delay for denial, silence for failure. But awareness changes everything. The field responds first in the invisible, then in the visible. Reality shifts inward long before it appears outward. What is needed is not more chasing, but deeper receiving. So the question now is simple. Will coherence be chosen over chaos? Will resonance be chosen over reaction? Will the frequency of the future self be stabilized, not as an occasional practice, but as a way of being? If so, the shift has already begun. The field is already responding. The new reality is already unfolding around the new signal. The echoes of the old loop may still be fading, but the foundation of a different future has been laid. Breathe into this truth. Let it settle in the body. Let it anchor in the heart. You are not a victim of reality. You are its creator. You always have been. You always will be. This is not theory. It is embodiment. It is frequency. It is coherence. The loop ends here. The shift begins now. Welcome to the new frequency.